It's August 1998. Welcome back to Tape Deck Selects. Yo, what up? It's your boy Lord Puba, and I'm back with another episode of Tape Deck Selects. Now we're in August. August was a pretty big month, wrapping up the summer for 1998. And I got three artists that I want to focus on right now, just three. Starting off first, let me halt and just say, that's right, I said halt. This is one of my favorite artists of all time, definitely groomed me coming up as a kid and made me respect his style as an artist and things of that nature. Coming from the West Coast, but I'm going to put this in the Southern category. Snoop Dogg hit us in 1998, August 4th, 1998, with The Games to Be Sold, Not Told. If you follow in the tail of the tape, we already know that Snoop Dogg was basically the first big success off of Death Row Records. Death Row went defunct. They ain't really have nobody around the time. Everybody was leaving. Snoop dropped the two albums, Doggy Style, which is an absolute classic. Then he followed up with The Dogfather. A lot of people didn't like The Dogfather, but I didn't think The Dogfather was that bad. Had a couple of joints on there. Sophomore Jinx, I believe is what they like to call it. Then we didn't hear nothing from him for a while, which pretty much made him like the hottest free agent in hip hop. So what do hot free agents do? They go to hot free agent teams. And around that time in 1998, the biggest, dopest record label that you ever wanted to be on around that time was No Limit. So Snoop strolls over to No Limit, anticipated to be the biggest star on the label. He hit us with The Games to Be Sold, Not Told, like I said before, but I'm not 100% sure that the people resonated with the quality of music that came off of that first No Limit album. That was his No Limit debut. It's still charted. I believe it started at number 1 in the Billboard's Top 200. But let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Before I do that, make sure you guys hit the comments. Let me know how you felt about this album. Let me know if you liked it, didn't like it. Was it too South for Snoop, or was Snoop too West for the South? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear from you guys. Let's jump right into it. The tracks. No, I was about to say the other one, but it's not that one. It's The Games to Be Sold, Not Told. I'm going to do a little bit of cheating. Not really cheating, because I made it, and you guys can listen to it too. If you shoot over to my Spotify link, I make playlists. Well, I'm starting to make playlists for the albums that I cover each month. So if you want to go over there and check them out, just so you can get a vibe of the song, or maybe even just like go back and, remember or catch that feeling again, shoot over. I'm going to leave the link in the bio, description, however YouTube do it. I'm gonna do that so you guys can check it out. Off rip though, first joint was still a G thing. I mean, I'm talking about joints that I like, not in any kind of order, but just joints that I like. Still a G thing made me think that this album was going to do more than what it was supposed to do. It was. I'm not sure who produced that track. He had, let's see, if my memory serves me correctly, he had Superfly producing on there. He had DJ Pooh producing on there. Majority of it was Beats by the Pound. I know he had a couple of tracks on there. He was remaking certain hip hop gems from back in the day, like, Dogs Gonna Get You and stuff like that. But still a G thing gave you a West Coast bop. And it was like, okay, yeah, this is the smooth Snoop that I'm talking about, that I'm trying to play when I'm riding down the street, whoopie-woo and blah, blah, blah. But, to follow up with that, it's still one of the better songs on the album. Gin and Juice 2, I think he should have left that alone. I wasn't a huge fan of Gin and Juice 2. I get what was going on as far as him trying to bring the West Coast flavor to the South, but I think at best, Gin and Juice 2 was underwhelmed. So he had a song, I think this is one of the first songs on the track, it was called Wolf. I think he tried to make that like an anthem. I don't know, all my Southern listeners, all my Southern tuners, let me know how y'all felt about that song. Now remember, it's 1998. We ain't hear from Snoop in a long time, right? He pops back up, one of the hottest free agents in the game. He's on No Limit. He makes this song Wolf. I think Mystical was on there too, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But I believe that was supposed to be an anthem, and I know for me, it didn't do too well. It didn't resonate too well with me. But again, like I said, tell me about it. Tell me how y'all was feeling around that time. But those are the 3 major tracks I wanted to point out because those are the ones that I heard the most. Don't forget to shoot over to the Spotify and check that out because I got more tracks on there as well as a sneak peek into the other artists that I'm going to cover this month. So y'all make sure y'all do that. So Snoop always had a specific flow, right? Snoop has a West Coast. He's a West Coast guy. He's a West Coast artist. So he had like this really, really specific West Coast flow. And I think when he got to No Limit, he was trying to please the Southern crowd, although he was already Snoop Dogg. Trying something new, I'm not really knocking him for it. But if you follow Snoop's career while he was on No Limit, you see that he came back more to his West Coast roots. And those, to me, those are the better albums on No Limit, coming from Snoop Dogg. Wasn't a fan of the flow, wasn't a fan of the style. It changed quite a bit off, on that first No Limit album. And again, I'm a huge Snoop fan, but that album almost made me want to hang it up. I ain't gonna lie. I almost think that even though it was a big move, him coming from like Death Row and going to, with all the controversy, mind you, him shooting from Death Row, going to No Limit, he went from one big boss to the next big boss. I don't think his legacy, I don't think it put a dent in his legacy, I should say. Snoop Dogg is always gonna be Snoop Dogg. He's always gonna be Snoop Doggy Dogg to me because, anybody who cares and pays attention, we already know when he was on Death Row was Snoop Doggy Dogg. Whatever happened, when he jumped on No Limit, that label, he was Snoop Dogg. Snoop Doggy Dogg was the guy I grew up on. He was the controversial guy, quick 2 seconds. Doggy Style is a classic. Bottom line, turned me on to Snoop, turned me on to a lot of the West Coast stuff. That'll never drop from my top 5 greatest albums of all time. For me. Fast forward, when he got to No Limit and people were saying that it might have tarnished his legacy or it may have put a dent in his, in his swag or it made it stain his resume. I don't think it did that. Like, by then Snoop was Snoop, and him taking that venture with No Limit, to me, put him back on the map in later years because, he had a few albums on Death Row and the hits just kept coming. And I'm saying this from a fan, like a real listener's perspective. Like, yeah, he debuted at #1 and everything like that, but I believe that was all anticipation. Going forward, those were the better albums. However many albums he had, like Last Meal, No Limit, Top Dog. I can't think of the other ones, but those 2 stick out to me anyway. But yeah, Snoop, it did. I don't think it tarnished his legacy whatsoever. I remember that talk, and now that I have an opportunity to say something about it wholeheartedly, no, that first album did not tarnish Snoop's legacy, although I do think it was underwhelming at best. But let me ask you guys a question. Do you think this was a necessary album for Snoop to do? Do you think he needed to make that pivot to No Limit? Do you think he could have been on any other label and still have been successful? Or do you think it tarnished his legacy? Let me know in the comments. Tell me how you feel. Tell me about your favorite tracks. Do all of that stuff for me. Like, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week with another album that I'm going to cover, and I think you guys are going to like it. All right? Remember, like, follow, subscribe, share. Tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your aunties, tell your uncles, tell your grandmother, tell your granddaddy, all of that good stuff, all right? I'll see you guys next time. Peace.